Yaki, thank you so much for being here with us today. We're so excited to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Um, so, before we start anything, before we get into Pluri, before we get into anything at all, I'd just love to hear about you.
So my name is Yaky Yanay. I'm the CEO of Pluri Inc. Pluri is a company that doing cell therapy for or sales for over almost 2 decades. Um, I'm with the company as the CEO. I joined the company as the CFO of the company. I do have a financial background. I started my journey actually in Ernst& Young in Israel, and then started joined to a high-tech company, Elbit Vision System. But about 20 years ago, I fell in love in biotechnology and aging. I'm one of the few guys in the world that can say that I earned or I got my career because of a graph.
Really? Tell us that story. Let's stop for a minute.
Sure. So about 20 years ago, I did see one graph that changed entirely the course of my career and actually my life to some extent. That was the graph that shows the change in life expectancy, humanity life expectancy. And I saw like amazing graph, which basically my graph says that humanity doubled its life expectancy in the last 150 years, doubled
Wow.
from 45 in average to over 80. And I literally was blown away. I couldn't believe the numbers. So I said, it's just cannot be true. And I did a deep dive into it. And
Where
since
were
then,
you when you saw this graph? Like, what were you doing?
I was actually reading at home something, and I just saw this graph in one of the internet sites, and
But were you still in were you in
I
Ernst and
was in
Young?
I
Where
was
were
in
you?
Elbit Vision
Okay, so you
System.
were like already in high tech, but
Yeah,
not yet in
exactly. High tech, machine vision, algorithm. It's a very nice company. And then I said, wow, I really need to be part of the life science industry. If this graph is true, that's going to be the biggest industry in the world. And since then, I didn't, I mean, it was disturbing my thoughts and mind all day. And this is what I did. I understand that if I want to be part of this industry, I need to be in life science. But also, more than that, I understood that I need to be involved in regenerative medicine, in like new technologies, because the numbers just amazing. And if we want to continue to treat our elderly patients with dignity and respect, we need to come with new technologies. So this is actually what brought me to Pluri. It was a very young company. It was a year and a half or 2 years. And I decided to join first as the CFO. And since then, I'm devoting my life to cell therapy, regenerative medicine, and using cells for a variety of different things that humanity needs.
And you came there with a background in finance. You didn't come in with a medical background or a technological background.
Exactly. But I think that helped me quite a lot because when you're coming with financial background, you are seeing things in a very you have your own point of view of things. It's not always biology and science. You are not actually taking into consideration the limitation if you grew in the life science or in the academic world of science. And I asked simple questions, and I didn't agree to accept answers that didn't seem logic to me. And I always tell, until today, I always tell my team, if you need to explain something and I do not understand it, it means that you're not explaining it properly. So use your logic, explain it in simple terms and that people will understand. And luckily, we are living in a generation that data is available. And I took a deep dive. I read like hundreds of different scientific papers.
Wow.
And I think that it would be fair to say today that I can give a fair fight to most of the professors in universities and hospitals, understanding mechanism of action, understanding how cell works, biology. I just love it. It's the most amazing industry in the world.
That's kind of crazy to think that you were able to teach yourself that much. I just finished my master's in economics
Mhm.
and I still don't understand most papers that I read in economics. So that's really impressive. You feel you were really able to teach yourself just through kind of academic reading.
Yeah, academic reading, a lot of meetings, a lot of meeting the right guys, being in the right conferences, but that's a heavy lift. I mean, if you need to, you want to get this in the data and information, not just to know what people are talking about, but to lead innovation, to think of innovation, to be able to challenge your scientific team, which all of them are brilliant guys. Um, but as I said, it's today the world is open, information is available, and everything. If you are actually curious enough and willing to learn, you can do a lot. This
That's
is what I did.
I'm interested in like how what you're saying about innovation, like who leads innovation because just purely from your description of
Mhm.
your background and the company you work at, I would kind of expect a lot of innovation would come from like the purely academic side, from like the CTO, from like the R&D teams. But it's cool that you're saying that even with a financial background and whatever you've learned yourself, you're able to contribute to innovation. Is that like because you're bringing this different voice?
I believe it's a big part of it. Um, Thinking in logic way and different voice, and also understanding the big trends and science and the big trends that today are in the market. Um, my mind or my brain is always, thinking, and this is something that I always do. Um, and I believe that today innovation is not limited to being only a professional in your field. Sometimes you can look at things, you can look at phenomena and trying to ask questions or try to make assumptions based on what you see. And so there is always a big difference between the concept and ideas to the execution of it. I always say this world is not short of good ideas. Everybody have good ideas at least 3 times a day. But it's about the ability to execute. And then, of course, you need a team, which is they are pros, and they can take something which may be an interesting concept, but eventually breaking it down and to understand if it really makes sense and to be able to decide on a project. So I must say that I do not limit myself to brainstorm, coming with new concept, new ideas, challenge the leading scientific guys in my company and in the world. And I think that that's something which creates innovation. When you are able to have this open discussion and people from different aspects look at the same thing, and we are very fortunate to live in an amazing generation.
Pluri recently signed on an agreement aimed at helping Ukraine defend itself from, we hope that this will not happen, but a nuclear event. Tell us more about that.
So Pluri, it's a big platform. We are based first of all in Haifa in Israel. We employ about 130 employees.
Yeah, this is good that you're doing this. I jumped way ahead. Let's start
No,
with
no, that's good.
what Pluri is. That's a good idea.
It's good. And we are a publicly traded company on Nasdaq under symbol PLUR. We are for the last 20 years we are dedicating ourselves to build product and solutions based on sales.
And sorry, I was reading the website, and it said placental stem cells. Can you just tell us what those are?
So let's start even before the placenta. Let's start about cells.
Okay.
Cells, I always call them the building blocks of life. Every organism on this planet is built from cells. We are built from cells, but also the plants, food, coffee, animals, trees, bacteria, whales. That's literally the building blocks of life. And it's so fascinating to see that the way they are organized in different creatures, and it's follow a very specific rules that I can see the pattern today. And I'm always
Mm.
say the engineer had the same blueprint across the different creatures, creating humans, plant, and more and more and more. Pluri is using placenta cells for therapeutics. And I did start and say that I joined this industry because I understood that we need to come with new modalities to treat our elderly and patients. And humanity actually needs new solutions. If you're going to look at the healthcare cost, global healthcare costs, especially in the Western world, it's insane. US is spending almost 20% of its GDP on healthcare. It increased almost by 0.5% each and every year.
Wow.
It's insane. It's not
Half
sustainable.
a percent of GDP each year in the US?
Yes, it's
That's
crazy. It's
insane.
insane. Today it's about 20%. And I always say that there are like two solutions. Either we're going to get financial bankrupt because we will not be able to afford ourselves. The second option is a moral bankruptcy. If
Yeah.
we say we're not going to treat our elderly and patients. And when there are two options, I always like the third one to say we should find new solutions to treat elderly and patients in different way, reducing hospitalization day, reducing the chronic treatment. Basically, we need to readjust or restart all our healthcare system, moving to prevention, moving to regeneration. Our bodies have regeneration capabilities. When we are young in good health, our body is able to regenerate itself. When we are getting older or sick, we are losing part of this capability. And in Pluri, we decided that we should focus on cells. And what can be a more ideal source than using the placenta cells, which are young, potent, healthy cells, donated placenta after full-term delivery. And in Pluri, we are collecting these placentas, we are extracting the cells out of them, expanding the cells. We developed the most advanced technology in the world for cell expansion. It's actually so effective that from a single placenta, we can treat over 20,000 patients from a single
Wow.
placenta. And we are using these cells, we inject them into patients in severe condition, sick patients. And we are able to see that the cells are able to interact and to communicate with the patient body. They're actually receiving signal from the patient body and responding to them, providing these therapeutic factors that leads to healing and regeneration. And starting with your question, this is what we announced also last week when we signed an agreement with Hemafund. It's a very large clinical center in Ukraine, the largest clinical center, stem cell center and umbilical cord blood. And we provide them access to one of our products that we are developing the last few years with the US military and the NIH, National Institute of Health. One of our unique cell types, when we use it to population that was exposed to very high level of nuclear radiation, we're able to show that we can increase survival from like 30% to close to 100%
Wow.
when you
Because
inject.
I think that that's like, I think that's something that every little kid is scared of, right? Like you're little and you hear about Chernobyl or you watch like a movie
Exactly.
about a submarine and you're like, oh, they have radiation, they're absolute goners, they're done for. So,
Radiation is something that really scares
yeah,
us human beings because you cannot see it and it's a significant
30
impact
to
on.
100%, that's massive.
It's massive. And we do have several projects, NIH and DoD. We just got a contract from the DoD last year for this product. And the CEO of FEMA Fund, I know the guy is an amazing entrepreneur. I like him a lot. And we said that we're going to bring this technology for Ukraine in case of, God forbid, they're going to need it. And this is quite an amazing cell therapy technology.
How much of that was driven by business and how much of that was driven by ideals, morals?
Well, we are complicated human beings, you know. It's always a combination. So for me, maybe because we are Israelis but I also know the guy, it made a lot of sense to bring it to countries that really need it. US is investing quite a lot into it as a preparedness towards radiation. It's not only dirty bomb; it can be also like nuclear melting, like what happened in Fukushima or in
Mm.
Chernobyl. And people don't always acknowledge the numbers, but just for you to understand, in Fukushima, in Chernobyl, actually, over 100,000 people died from the first responders because they're actually trying to take control over the radiation. And I wish they had our product, which can prevent some of the symptoms and actually keep them alive. Um, and I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's going to be a good business. I mean, the agreement that we signed with Hema Fund, of course, have also substantial value for us. It's going to be over $100 million in potential value for both parties, based on the agreement that we signed. But for me, it was important statement to say we're going to be there, we're going to support, you're going to have access to something which is quite novel and developed here in Israel. And this is what we do,
Can you tell us a little bit about how this therapy works?
of course. So these placenta cells, we inject when people are exposed to radiation, they will die because the radiation actually breaks the DNA when the cells are actually trying to double themselves. So first of all, it will damage the cells that are fast in doubling, like chemotherapy to some extent. And the cells that are actually breaks in radiation, these are our hematopoietic cells. Hematopoietic cells are the ones that create our bloodlines, the red, the white, and the platelet. So when the hematopoietic cells are actually destroyed because of the radiation, people will die first from bleeding because they're not going to have platelet. They're going to die from infection because they're going to lose the white cells, or the red cells. They're going, but nobody gets to the red cells if they're going to
No one
they're going
makes
to
it
die
to the
before
red cells.
that. And today the alternative is to try to provide certain cytokines that can improve the white cells, or take these patients to bone marrow transplantation.
To what?
Bone marrow transplantation,
Oh, okay.
which is not feasible if you need to do even 100 patients in parallel.
Yeah.
So when we inject our placenta cells, and we are injecting it after exposure to very high level of radiation.
Like you take the placenta cells, you expose them to high levels of radiation, and then you
No, the
no,
human being was exposed to
and
radiation.
then you inject the
We are taking a
person.
vial with our placenta cells. Each
Mhm.
vial contains about 100 million placenta cells.
Okay.
You just take a simple needle and syringe, take the cells out, and inject them into the patient muscle. And what is happening there? Our cells are starting to sense the signals. They are seeing that there is destruction of the hematopoietic niche, and they're getting all these signals that the body can able to translate it. And our cells are starting to secrete a lot of different factors, biological proteins or biological factors that do two things. One, they protect the remaining hematopoietic cells. Second, they allow them to start to proliferate very rapidly, quickly. So what we are doing is we are actually reigniting this engine, this hematopoietic system, to start to double themselves. And we are seeing that there is increase in platelet, in white, and in red blood. Eventually, that translates to survival. As I said, it's close to 100% survival. And for one that got the cells, and without the cells, actually there is a destruction. Eventually, that leads to death, which is terrible. But these are very powerful cells. These placenta cells, we use them for radiation, but today we use them for more and more indications, from ischemia to muscle regeneration. We have several cell lines that each and every one of them is dedicated to a specific disorder.
What's what can you tell us about the difference between the different cell lines? Like what makes one cell line able to fight radiation disease and another able to fight other things?
First of all, placenta is the most amazing organ I ever saw. It's amazing, amazing. I mean, it's really, it's like miracle. I'll explain. Think of pregnancy, which is the unique situation in nature that I'm familiar with, that there are two immune systems that coexist, the mother and the baby. Even though these are different immune systems, they coexist without rejection of the one against the other. And you know that a mother can be even a surrogate mother. She can carry someone else's child without genetic match whatsoever, but still she's going to carry a baby. And the organ that modulate or allow this amazing immunological discussion is the placenta, which is missing part of the marker and make it kind of invisible for the immune system.
Mm.
So you have an organ that is able to interact with two different, the mother and the baby. It's actually one organ that built from two human beings. And our concept that we can take donated placenta from Haifa here in Israel, we are using our technology to expand them. As I told you, over 20,000 from a single placenta. And today we injected these cells to hundreds of patients all over the world, US, Europe, even Korea, Israel, across all ethnics, across all genders. And what we're able to know that these placenta cells, they are like tiny factory that they are able to sense, to interact, to discuss with the patient body. This is what they do. I always say they are native speakers. They understand the language of the body. And that's a very powerful agent for recovery and regeneration. The key advantage that it doesn't require genetic match.
Yeah.
We can just go across without match whatsoever. So it's like an off-the-shelf product, but you have cells. This is a very sophisticated and powerful agent.
Is it the same product treating all these different kinds of conditions and diseases, or like do you have to adjust the
We
placenta
adjust.
cells?
There is a big difference between cells that are coming from the baby side of the placenta to the mother side of the placenta. As I said, these are two
Oh,
different.
interesting.
They are very different. So for the radiation, these are more baby side of the placenta. They are secreting factors that are important for our blood system regeneration. On the mother side of the placenta, they are very strong in anti-inflammatory conditions
Wow.
and ischemia. So if there is like ischemic legs or ischemic muscle, we inject them, and they provide the body these proteins that the body needs in order to create muscle regeneration and renew the blood supply in case that it needed. And since we are growing these cells with our technology, this bioreactor technology, which is the key essence of our of Pluri, we are able also to tweak the conditions in the bioreactor, basically showing the cells different conditions and making them more suitable for specific clinical conditions.
Very cool.
It's amazing. It's amazing, amazing organ. It's unbelievable. The level of sophistication, it's so sophisticated, and the level of interaction, complication it still makes me amazing.
No, it's super cool. I've never heard all this about the placenta. Like,
Yeah,
who
yeah.
knew?
Who knew?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've only heard about it in the context of like, oh, we have to be so careful to get it all. It's like
Yeah.
it's like this dangerous thing you hear about with your pregnant friends
No.
of like, oh, we got to get rid of it. Or, oh
Placenta
no,
is
disconnected.
much more than
Yeah,
danger.
so much more.
It's a miracle of birth, really.
Since you're a finance guy,
Mhm.
and since we're talking about the worlds of pharma, and we've already kind of touched on morality, this is kind of an abstract question, but like, how do we make sure that medicines like this are accessible to people around the world who need them? How do we kind of overcome the business constraints and kind of, there's been a ton of drama about pharma companies and healthcare
Absolutely.
companies and insurance companies recently in global news. So give us your take. How do we make these medicines accessible to everyone and overcome business considerations to do that?
So I believe that on the macroeconomical level, this is probably the most interesting question. Are we able, as a scientific community, to provide good and accessible treatments to to patients. And Pluri's approach is very, very clear about it. So the product that we are developing. But let me first of all give you some facts. I think it's important to understand. From the 100% pie of cost of healthcare, what do you think? Which part of it is the one that associated with the cost of drugs?
Drugs in healthcare?
Yeah. So 100% of the cost, how much of it is go actually to buying drugs?
To buying, like to
Yeah.
developing drugs as well, or just
No,
to
no,
buying
actually,
them?
how much the system is spending on buying drug from the pharmaceutical companies,
Oh, I would,
percentage-wise.
I have no idea, but like 5%.
Okay, so it's about 11%.
Oh, I was not far off.
It's not for your it's an
Nice.
amazing guess. Most of the people will think that it's much higher because there is a lot of discussion around it. But actually, most of the cost of the healthcare system is associated with hospitality
Mm,
and chronic treatments. So people
interesting.
on continuous chronic treatment and disability that people are actually in disability situation. And I'm saying as humanity, our goal is to make sure that we're going to shrink this pie of healthcare and actually don't care how. So if we're able to get a super drug, that if people are going to take it and they're not going to need hospitalization, great. Even if
Because
it's
you've
going to cost
shrunk the
twice of the
costs
money.
overall.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the goal that we should be very focused as human beings, how we're able to get a good healthcare support without spending so much money. Even in a deeper concept, I always say we need to transform this system from, it's not a real healthcare system. I call it the seeker system.
Yeah.
Today, it's like a seeker system, how we can transform it to healthcare system.
Mm.
And it requires a lot of different elements to make it happen. I believe that sales and regeneration is critical part of it. We are able to see it today. Most of our concept is people are treated once or twice. That's it.
Wow.
Everything is an outpatient, not chronic treatments. And if we're able to make healing and regeneration and sometimes even cure, that's meaningful. The way that we are developing our product, as I told you, it's like we call it allogenic. Allogenic, it means no match is needed between the donor and the patient. So that also makes it very affordable.
Yeah.
Today, I believe that, mainly in immunotherapy for oncology treatments, the cost of cell therapy is amazing. It's about almost $400,000 per patient.
Wow.
It's not sustainable. People cannot
Is
take
that
it
because of matching or?
because of the matching and the process itself.
Mm.
I believe we'll be able to save 60 to 70% of the cost using technologies like us. And that eventually translates to saving to the healthcare system, better health for the population, and lower expenditure, which for me, it's a win-win. And that's the way to go.
We keep saying regeneration. How far does regeneration go? Like, are we going to be able to regrow limbs, regrow, like, because what you're saying already sounds like science fiction. So, like, how far does the science fiction go?
It's not really science fiction. I'll tell you why. Look at your own body. This is what we are doing is something which is very natural and happens in our body. In our body, there are now when we see there is a tons of discussion in our body. Cells speak to each other by cell-to-cell
Mm.
interaction or chemical or biological signaling. So that's the language of the body. Okay, it's cells, interaction, discussion, and secretion. This is how the body works. What we're trying to do is to treat patients that is the body is not doing it as it used to do in the past when we were young, and providing this extra power of the placenta power to continue to do this regeneration process that usually happens. And that, I believe, is a very basic and natural concept. And for me, to treat a body that is built from cells with cells just makes sense. This is how we should do it. And there is a lot of discussion today how far we can take Taylor biology or so there is a big difference between what we can do in science, a lot. We can do a lot from gene editing to what I believe we're actually going to do from moral point of view
Yeah.
or also different aspects that we shouldn't use. My goal is to make sure that and there is today a big trend in our world. People talking about aging and longevity. Everybody wants to live longer. And just been in conference in Israel. People talk easily about getting to 150, 200 years. That's like
Wow.
the short-term goals for the people see.
Wow. That's the short term
Uh,
goals?
it's not going to be in 100 years. I mean,
Wow.
as far as the scientific community, we look at the kids that are going to live to 150 already burned. They are here. They're walking on this planet.
Oh my gosh.
and the world is going to change quite significantly. I'm very focused in quality of life
Mm.
to make sure that I don't know how long we're going to live. I have my own opinion about it, but eventually it's about the quality of life. I hope that I'm going to die healthy, like in the proper age, of course.
Yeah.
And this is where actually the trends that we are leading: regeneration, healing, not deteriorating over the years as people are deteriorating today. Live a healthy life, and when your time comes,
Die a
that's
healthy
fine.
death.
Yeah, that's a goal, to die healthy.
So, in a kind of sharp change of topic, Pluri does so many things. Let's talk about the other thing we came here to talk about today, which is coffee.
So in Pluri, as I told you, in the last 20 years, we developed therapeutic assets, but we developed the most advanced technology in the world for cell expansion. It's protected by over 140 patents. The origin of this technology is from the Weizmann and the Technion, so it's proud Israeli technology. But we learned two things: the knowledge base to develop cell based product and the technology to do it in a very large scale.
Nice.
And about 3 years ago, we said, okay, we can use this technology. The technology is not limited to the expansion of placenta cells. So we can basically expand almost every cell type that there is a need. And we said, okay, that's an interesting idea. And we decided to go with the approach to say, we're going to operate in industries that has the need for mass scale production, using the same underlying technology and working with partners that understand the need and actually coming with a specific ask. Our journey started when we built the first company around us who cultivated meat. We partnered up with Nuva. Nuva, as you know, is the largest food producer in Israel. We did a joint venture. They invested into the joint venture $7.5 million. And we built the first company, Ever After Foods, when Pluri is the major shareholder and Nuva actually is supporting the development and everything. A few months ago, we brought additional investment to this company. It's the most amazing company in the world for expansion of alternative proteins. And we're able to show that we can use the same technology that we have, but now in scale, and produce hundreds of kilos of meat in a bioreactor. Which
Wait,
is
yeah, give us like the breakdown as much as you can in layman's terms of what that looks like. Like I'm picturing you take like a steak and you put it in your bioreactor and you get like 30 steaks. But give me the what does it actually
so we
mean?
are taking a biopsy once
Hmm.
from we need a cell line. So it
So
can
it
be
does originate like from whatever you're
exactly.
creating.
It can be from either egg or from the animal itself, but we just need this very small sample once of biopsy that we're gonna have the cells themselves. And then our technology kicks in and start to expand, to double these cells, the biological mass. So from a very tiny portion of sample, we can make tons of products. Okay, so this is how it works, and how it looks like. Think about the bioreactor. It looks like a giant burger, if you like. Okay, eventually it looks like cell aggregation, like a giant burger that contains the different. It can be either chicken or any other type of fish or whatever, or cow, whatever we're going to have over there. We're able to expand the cells in a mass production. And this is what Ever After Food is doing. We're actually today going to enable our technology for the different players that are trying to develop product because we have a substantial advantage. And once we did that, suddenly I got a call from one of the largest coffee companies in the world. And he said, hey, Yaki, we're following your technology and we're seeing what you did with Nuva. Can you do cultivated coffee? And I literally started to laugh on the Zoom. I said, why the hell do you need cultivated coffee? It's a beautiful green plant. What's wrong with it? And they said, yeah, but we are losing production. We are losing production because of change of climate. I don't think that people know that.
Yeah, I when I was preparing for this, I read that 1 cup of coffee is 140 liters of water to
It's amazing.
prepare.
It's
That's
insane, right?
wild.
It's wild.
I wouldn't have guessed a fraction of that.
Neither do I. And this is where the moment that I understood that there are industries that are under significant stress because of the change of what's going on around us,
Because of climate change.
climate change, because they need so much water, the coffee
Mm.
cells. You can grow them in a very specific territories or geographies in the world. Basically, when there are rainforests. Of course, there are a lot of issues associated with deforestation of rainforest, etc. But now with the change of climate, they're losing production. If you're going to go even to Nestle website, you're going to see that they estimate that by 25 years from now, we're going to lose 50%, 50% of the global production of coffee.
Wow. And that's as coffee consumption is only increasing.
It's going to triple in the next 20 years.
Oh, wow.
So consumption is going to triple, supply going to shrink by 50%. Well, maybe we're going to pay 50, 60 bucks for a cup of coffee. But this is exactly where Pluri is coming in. And I said, okay, we understand the rationale. So we took a biopsy from the coffee plant, and I can get the most amazing coffee plant in the world, Ethiopian Jägerchef, Geisha, whatever, the most expensive and luxury coffee. And we're starting to double the sales. We're starting to double the sales. Just to give you the sense, one of our systems, the metric system which we're using for industrial application, the amount of coffee that it can produce, and it's a small system, it's about 2.5, 3 meters system,
Oh my goodness.
is equivalent to over 80,000 coffee plants. 80,000 coffee plants, one system.
Can you tell me about the cost? Sorry, as an economist, can you tell me about the costs involved in this? Because like what you're saying has I mean, if it's a low cost, then you can just completely upend any market in the world, right? You could flood any market you wanted with supply.
Yes,
You could solve world hunger. Like,
we can do a
tell us
lot.
about the costs involved so that we know kind of what's the limiting factor here.
So the production itself, one of the key advantages that we are extremely effective. And we saw it even in the cultivated meat, for example, that compared to other technologies, we can reduce the cost by almost 90%. But the first goal in the coffee is to make sure that we're going to provide the coffee in a sustainable price, of course, in sustainable manufacturing process as well. But just to give you a sense, in 2024, coffee prices went 70% up.
Yeah.
From the beginning of 2025, they went, I think, like 25%. So it's like amazing, unsustainable situation when prices increase, demand is shrinking, and there is a big issue all over the world. And I think that this is our time. And this is exactly the reason that we are focused on this application, on the coffee. And we also recently acquired a company named Kokomodo that is doing cultivated cocoa, because it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Actually, in cocoa prices went like 400% up in the last 3 years. Someone need to do something about it. I love chocolate and coffee, so I need to find solutions.
Wait, but like you're literally describing something that just like I just threw out curing world hunger, but literally like if you can reduce the costs of production for food products by 90% and take a tiny sample and create what you said the equivalent of 80,000 coffee plants in a
Yes.
2-meter machine.
Yep.
So we're talking about you could literally completely upend the entire way we think about the food industry, and with that there are all kinds of problems you can solve.
Exactly.
World
But
hunger.
we're not using today for any plant. Of course, we need to work on specifics. There are plants that are more suitable for our technology than other plants. But we're using this technology can be really a game changer for a variety of different industries around the food tech. And even think about it. We can grow coffee anywhere, here in Jerusalem or in the desert. Because
Or you can go wheat anywhere.
wheat is a little bit more complicated.
Corn. Like what's a good like basic? Can you grow potatoes anywhere?
We can grow potato, but we are trying to look at the on commodities that it's complicated and
Mhm.
difficult to grow.
Okay.
If the land can carry it and it's not a big problem, so be it. I mean, we don't want to touch it if it's not broken.
Yeah.
But we are trying to work in industries that are in a significant stress or disturbed because of change of climate or anything that are more sensitive.
But what about like
How far we can get it?
Yeah, what about like philanthropic applications, right? Like potatoes are easy to grow, but we know there are parts of the world where people are starving, like literally starving to death. So
Yeah.
tell me about philanthropic applications of the
On
technology.
Philanthropic, we just had a very interesting discussion, and actually 2 weeks from now, I'm going to go to Latin America because of the coffee. Thinking about Philanthropic, but I'm looking very different point of view. These guys, their economies are heavily dependent on coffee and cocoa. That's the main industry, and they're losing production.
Yeah.
They're losing production. They mean they're losing jobs. It means that this population, which is not extremely wealthy and actually not very fortunate as we live in the Western world, they're actually losing the main industry that they are dependent on it.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my main goals, and as my wife always tells me, if you had less agenda in your life, you had an easier life, but this is me. I'm saying, can we create a situation that these guys actually, instead of losing their jobs, will transform to much better paid job?
Mm-hmm.
So can we provide them with our technology and knowledge, creating some hubs over there that will manufacture coffee or cocoa, but in a different way, using our technology? So not depend on the land, on the climate, child slavery, which is
A big
a
problem,
big
especially
problem.
with chocolate.
And they're making a very small. I mean, they're working hard, these guys,
Yeah.
but they're not making enough money. Can we make them a technological player? And this is what I love about what we do. We can use the technology to create impact on human beings, on the food supply, but also on the day to day. And
No, I think that's such an important focus also too, because you could just produce whatever you want from here and completely put them out of business entirely. You could take a struggling industry and collapse it. But it's cool what you're saying. Like rather than doing that, still think of these people in this industry and how you can support them,
we have to.
transition them rather than just destroying them.
One thing I learned about about sales that taught me a lot also about human beings. And I'm looking at our own body, which is built from many dozens of different cell types, billions of cells that build from different cell types. And they are able to collaborate very nicely between each other in our body. This is what allows this machine to work, the biological machine. And I believe that we should learn a lot as human beings from the cells that is built, our body is built from. We should work together, we should collaborate. Um, Thinking on living in harmony and working together, it's important. Because if there's going to be a destruction of the employment in Latin America, that's going to impact each and every one of us. Like if your part of the body is injured, that's going to impact your body. And I believe that us as a business leader, this is the way that we should try to think and to build and to make innovation. It's not about only replacing and changing, it's about providing a better future for different parts of this world and our world, of course. I care first and foremost about Israel, but we should also be sensitive to what's going on and to try to adjust the technology for the benefit of human beings. It's so important, and that's something which leads me in the decision making, and I hope that many other CEOs as well.
I was going to say, like, generally, when I speak to, especially kind of younger companies and startups, there's a huge focus on disrupting.
Mhm.
It's a huge focus on disrupting and being the best and acquiring or crushing competition. So I really like what you're saying. I think it fits in with kind of a newer perspective on how to do business and how to operate within our capitalist system, in which we do remember that exactly what you're saying is true. If you collapse an industry somewhere else in across the globe, you'll feel those impacts one day. Or if you pollute in some far off country, you'll also feel those impacts on your own business one day. Do you think that like, I hope that the business world as a whole is kind of moving in the direction you're describing. Do you see that among companies around you?
We saw it few years ago, the trend was much stronger.
Mm.
And now, when it's not easy all over the world from the economical point of view, so people, first of all, are very focused on themselves, which is fine. I understand that. But I believe it's coming. I mean, nobody can stop this wave. Um, and you can have a great business, but also to take into consideration the long term perspective. It's about thinking short or thinking long.
Mm.
And we don't have the luxury. I mean, Jewish people, we always have the long term thinking. So we need to think long and to understand what's going to benefit us now, but also the next generations. We are seeing we are seeing the weather, we are seeing the change all over the world. This is a short term sight that people didn't think long term enough. And I hope this is why I also develop such technologies. We cannot today utilize the land, this planet, as we are doing it. We need to find new ways to manufacture food, manufacture supply, be more careful about the resources. It's not just to be, a tree hugger. It's about thinking about my daughters, my grandchild. It's about the next generation. This is our moral thing. I mean, we have to do it. And we better start to do it now or 10 years ago. And this is what we're trying to do with Pluri. So it's always about thinking the business, but also have more aspect to it, like making sure to do it right. And this is what we try to do.
Yeah, tell us about your position on the board of the IATI, which you'll have to remind me. I always forget the the acronym.
Sure. So ITI is the Israeli Advanced Technology Industry. It's the largest umbrella organization in Israel for high tech and life science. Until recently, I used to be the chairman of the ITI representing the life science industry. There is one chairman from the high tech and one from the life science. And now I'm on the board. I got a little bit too busy with Pluri to keep the chairman position. But this is actually it's about interaction, communication, building the society that's going to take care of this industry. High tech and life science is extremely important for the Israeli market. I believe that specifically Israel is a country that well suited to be a huge or to be a great leader in life science in the world. We have the innovation, we have the skill force way to do it here. And one of my main goals, I do want to promote this industry. I'm trying to do it also in the northern part of Israel. It's important. Life science and healthcare actually employs a lot of people. So from scientists, but also all other disciplines are actually, we are able to employ them. And that's critically important, especially nowadays when all these beautiful guys from the Miluim are getting back to work. They need to get to good positions. They need to work in proper ways to make it their own good living. And it's our goal as CEOs of companies to make sure that they're going to have a decent place to work that's going to give them the right career and development. We owe a lot to these guys, and this is something which is a big focus. And ITI is focused in developing the high tech and life science industry in Israel, working with government, but also collaborating between the different companies to make sure that this ecosystem is built properly. So there is this organization. There is also other organization like 8400 that I'm also member in it, that is working on the personal level. So different CEOs and leaders in the industry that collaborate with each other or meet each other in order to make sure that this ecosystem will be in the right place. It's so important for our country, and this is something that I devote time. You know, one thing I learned: you always have enough time for things that are important, and I do see that as important thing to promote it. And yeah, I devote my time and efforts to make sure that we're going to continue to make that this Israel is a great country for development of life science and high tech, and it's extremely important.
You touched a little bit on the north. Pluri is also based in Haifa, right? In the new high tech
Yeah.
area that's springing up there. Very exciting. Yeah, tell us why is Pluri in Haifa? Is that also kind of from a desire to develop the north? You just
Yeah.
like the north better?
So I live in Emek Israel in Shimshit, um, and I do see that there is a significant shortage in a number of jobs, proper jobs for the population over there. And when you think of Israel strategically, it cannot be concentrated only in Jerusalem or Tel Aviv
Tel
or
Aviv, the
Herzliya.
high tech world specifically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we're saying, and I'm saying it very loudly, we need to bring industry also outside of the center of Israel. And Haifa is a very good place because it's actually the center of the north that a lot of people can come and work there. So we have the Matam Park, which is an amazing park, like Intel and Elbit are a big employer over there, and Pluri. And we started 18 years ago, or 20 years ago, we said people will actually come to work in life science in the north in Matam. And today I can say that there are probably around 30 different companies around us. I probably can proudly say that most of them are actually our ex-employees that came and start to work or open their own shop, their own company. And this is what I like about it: the ability to make the impact and to be able to contribute to the economy, to the society, to actually where you live. And this is what I hope to see. There's going to be many more jobs in life science. In the northern part of Israel, we have the best academia. We have the Technion, the Haifa University, and now there is also Tel Chai and more. There are great hospitals. It should be a perfect environment for life science. And this is what we are trying to create.
I love the focus on like the pragmatic, but also the right thing to do. I think I really do hope that's a defining factor of kind of the business world going forward.
We have to. This is our job as the people that live in this country and care about this country.
Tell me the dream for Pluri. Where is Pluri in 5 years, 10 years?
So Pluri is a huge platform for creating product out of sales. We are a sale-based technology platform. And I think that what we just showed in the last 18 or 24 months is the initial POC to where I'm taking this company. Today we have the cultivated meat, the cocoa, the coffee, the radiation. We have this project around us. I'm going to build another 20 companies around us.
Wow.
That each and every one of them is focused in one thing and one thing only. The concept is one platform that serve all the other companies. They have a full access to this platform. I always say Pluri is like the mothership, and we have these satellites around us that they are going to be leader in their field. But the CEOs of these subsidiaries that we have an extreme focus in one thing. And we're going to create a lot. And you're going to see also this year, there's going to be a lot of innovation coming and a lot of news. Today, we work with tier A companies all over the world. I'm very glad to say that even during 2024, we were able to bring US and European partners to work with us. None of them was actually agree to publicly disclose that they're working with an Israeli company, but who cares? We just bought them, we bought the business. They're gonna come out probably sometime soon, and we're gonna create our own ecosystem that's gonna focus on health, in sustainability, in food security, and everything that we are doing is around sales. I'm amazed by this tiny organism, the sales, and I believe that they have the potential to solve some of humanity's greatest challenges. This is what I'm seeing with sales, and I feel fortunate to lead this venture to make it happen.
Great. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for your time. Thank you. It was great being here. Thank you.